Today is Friday, June the 21st, and the McClellan oscillator opened above the overbought line. So we would have expected some of the money flowing into the market to slow down. Of course, we have seen it pop over that on three other occasions in the last 12 months. But we had a little bit of we had to stop there. So let's see what's going to happen tomorrow. Well, we've got advancers and decliners. Decliners leading advancers by almost 2 to 1. So we're going to see the McClellan oscillator pull back a little bit. Let's look at the S&P chart for more relevant information. First of all, the volume was quite high in the Dow, almost back to relative normal volume. A little bit lower in the NASDAQ, a little bit lower in the S&P 500. But we pointed out around 1 o'clock this afternoon that there was a critical time in the S&P coming up where buyers were either going to step in at this point and move up with the cloud or not. In other words, step back and do nothing or start selling, and then the price would drop below the 5-minute cloud. And we can see that's what happened. Went up for a test, all constantly rejected. Here, why did it reverse here? It reversed here because the Chiku span hit the top of the 5-minute cloud. So I'm not a 5-minute trader, but if I were, this is the system I would be using. I just don't have the patience for that, and probably the skills either. But if I were to do it, I would be using the Chiku span as my guideline for where I would be getting support in a case like this where it's in between two clouds. So it did get support. It moved up to get rejected by the cloud, took this jump up, confirmed with 2 5-minute candles, and then pulled back to test the bottom of the cloud, and that was pretty much it for the rest of the day, and we closed with some sellers. Let's look at S&P now on a daily basis, and we find ourselves below the below the previous closing high, which was this triple top, with the first one being here, actually the second one there, but let's say that those were the same. But we definitely had a rejection here, and it looks like we're about to start another rejection here. Now, looking at this cloud, I would say that there's going to have to be lots of good news coming, and it's going to be China. It has to be China. Trump is going to meet next weekend or next week with President Xi in Japan. There's going to be no deal struck there. We are going to see the S&P come down and start playing in this area here as it gets drawn by the flat cloud. It won't come all the way back down to there, but it'll probably come down and test the ADMA. So that's what my wife is calling me. So that's, sorry about that. So let's move on, because she's going to call me again. Apple maintained its support on the cloud, but did break out over the EMA. So let's take a look at the week. And we had a nice jump this week in Apple, but we did stop at the 50 simple moving average. Caterpillar, nice move into the cloud. Could have been worse for this stock this week, but we've now had 3 up weeks in a row. So let's hope that that continues. There's a dividend coming pretty soon. So stock trading, I think the week after this coming week is going to be ex-dividend, but check that out yourself. Gold on the week had a great week. Very nice pop, very strong gold miners here. There's really nothing stopping gold from a Ichimoku point of view. The Chiku span for the week is above the cloud. For the month, I don't often look at the month, but if we do, we see the Chiku span next week probably providing resistance at 26.42. But the gold miners, I think, is still a good stock to be in. and I am still long about 800 shares there and have been for a long time. I just keep it as, and then Whirlpool finished above yesterday, a little bit of a push over with 43 cents up. My 140 short calls were taken away. No, they weren't. I rolled into next week, so I absorbed that loss, and now I'm holding premium of about $3 and face value on the call of 140. So if they get taken away from me next Friday, I'll have bought them for 138 something and sold for equivalent of 143. And I'm still holding 300 shares with next week's 145 calls as well. So that's been a nice trade. WDC, Doji Day, support on the 8. And given the bad news with more sanctions being put against 5 more Chinese chip companies not being able to buy supplies from American suppliers, we could have seen worse happening to the American chip companies, but it wasn't such a bad day for Intel or WDC. So to keep it brief, I think Apple continues to make a run at 200, but we'll struggle to break 200 next week. S&P, I just see this as being a psychological high, going to be tough to break, and we're going to have to burn off a lot of sellers before we have enough buying to break 29.54, which was the previous closing high. Hope you had a good week.